Hello, welcome back to my office. This particular message is going out specifically to my Chem 105 students. I've received a couple of messages from you regarding proficiencies, and I can understand that this is probably one of those things that is a little bit more difficult to kind of wrap our brains around how we're going to do this proficiency thing in a completely online environment. So I've actually got some things I'm going to show you for how we're going to do that and how we're going to use that. And so let's just get right to it. So the thing that you need to know is that all of the proficiencies from here on in are going to Blackboard. Now, if you've already passed your proficiencies, or at least you've passed the ones that you've known about, nothing new is going to change other than the last couple of proficiencies, which instead of taking them over in the Learning Lab, you're going to go take them over in Blackboard. Now, digitizing these proficiencies has been it's been a pain in the neck to do. But as of yesterday, I have the first 5 that have been completed and put into Blackboard format. We're working out a couple of the bugs. They should be available for you on Monday. Actually, I've set them to release on Monday night at midnight. So when you wake up Monday morning, they will be there. And so the first 5 will be there. I have not done number 6 yet. Number 6 is going to be a little bit more cumbersome just because I have to inlay all of the equations. That is going to take a little bit more time. They should be available on the 30th, which is a week from Monday. Chances are only a very limited number of you will actually be ready for that proficiency. Anyway, that proficiency concerns a lot of stuff out of Chapter 8, and we're not going to even start Chapter 8 until the week of the 30th anyway. So, not a whole lot new or important there. But because we are going to online, we do have to install some safeguards and some things to kind of make sure that everybody's on the up and up, and that we're doing things in a way that's fair to everybody. And so all of the proficiencies in the online format are going to be timed proficiencies. And the timing there has a lot to do with, if you know the material, you should be able to complete these tasks in a relatively short period of time. So for elements, if you have not passed elements yet, you will only have 8 minutes to complete the elements proficiency, which means you've got to know. If you have ions still to do, you'll be given 10 minutes. The reason for the extra time is formatting. For 10 of the 20 questions, you're going to have to make sure that you've got your charges and your subscripts laid in correctly. That extra time of formatting is going to take a little bit of time to do. So I'm giving you the extra time to do that. For the nomenclature proficiencies, you'll get 10 minutes. Now, neither of those require formatting, but like the elements proficiency, the formula to name will require proper spelling, so make sure that you spelled it correctly in nomenclature 1. Solubility is just a multiple choice exam, so you only have 8 minutes to do it. You've got to know those solubility rules. The solubility rules can be found in your lecture packet. I think it's page 8. I'll double check that to be certain later. And then finally, the equation balancing, you'll get 30 minutes to do it because it's going to take you some time to inlay those net ionic and redox reactions. So that's the first thing. First thing is we are going to online. We are going to Blackboard. You can access that if you go to our Chem 105 page. So if you go to Chem 105's page, and what you should see is that there's a new tab here for proficiencies. And right now, these are all grayed out. You can't see any of these. But starting Monday night at midnight, so the first minute of Monday morning, these will all be available to you. And within them, you just click on it. It'll tell you what the instructions are, if there are special instructions, and then you'll be able to, using either text boxes or short answer essay kinds of boxes, you'll be able to put in the correct symbols and get them all saved and everything else like that. So that's where you can access that particular information. Now, on to the other part of this. So also effective on Monday, we are going to have a slightly different way of grading. Since the Learning Lab is no longer in the equation, we have to do things slightly differently. Now, for elements and ions, those two proficiencies, we've already seen the 100% and the 75% date, those deadlines have already passed. So if you haven't passed those yet, you're doing it just for the course credit, just to make sure that you are eligible come the final exam to pass the class. And so if you have not passed elements and if you have not passed ions yet, and the way that you can tell either of those things is if you have a 0 in the grade book for those two proficiencies, you have not passed it yet. The only way that you know you've passed is if you have a score. If you have a score in the box under a proficiency, that means that you have a recorded pass, recorded either in the Learning Lab or with me personally. And if you have a passing score already, you don't need to retake the proficiencies again in the Blackboard format. You can just do it on, you can skip the ones that you've already passed. But for the elements and ions, because those first two deadlines have already passed, it's course credit only. You're just trying to make sure that you're eligible to pass at the end of the semester. For nomenclature 1 and 2, you're going to have, we're going to institute an attempts limit. Now, the reason we came up with this particular number was based upon, well, really upon what happens if the Learning Lab were open. And chances are that the majority of people would only take 10 attempts at the most before they passed a proficiency. In fact, I have no record of anyone taking any of the proficiencies more than 10 times this semester or even last semester or the semester before, with the exception of maybe one of the proficiencies, the equation balancing. Most others, there's no record that anyone's taken any of the proficiencies more than 10 times. So the attempt limit is put into place so that someone cannot just simply try to guess their way through the proficiencies. So 10 is the limit that you're going to see. Now for nomenclature 1 and 2, the 100% deadline's already passed. You're going to start on Monday on the 75% deadline if you have not passed the proficiencies already. And so you'll have 10 attempts to pass for 75% credit. Now there is a deadline on that. It's not just 10 attempts to be done. 10 attempts before April 12th. April 12th is a Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. And that is the last day that I'll accept attempts on the nomenclature proficiencies for 75% credit. Now, the reason I'm extending into the Sundays instead of on a Friday is because, again, we're no longer bound by the Learning Lab and whether the Learning Lab is open. So these 10 attempts you could take consecutively. You could take them over the course of 5 days. You could take them in any kind of order or circumstance that you want. But 10 attempts before April 12th. After April 12th or after you've made 10 attempts, whichever one comes first, if you still have not passed either of those proficiencies, they will go into the book as a 0, and you'll be taking them for course credit at 0.0%. For solubility, the one that opens up on Monday, you'll have 10 attempts to make it at, you'll have 10 attempts to make it for 100% credit on or before April 26th. So on or before April 26th, you'll have to pass the solubility proficiency within 10 attempts if you want 100%. After 10 attempts, or after April 26th, again, whichever one comes first, then you'll have an additional 10 attempts at 75%, or until the deadline passes, which would be May 10th. Now, I wanted to point out, May 10th, again, is a Sunday. And again, we're working without the constraints of the learning lab here. So I'm giving you essentially 2 extra days to do it. For equation balancing, which is going to open up on the 30th, a week from Monday, you'll have 10 attempts to take that proficiency for the 5 bonus points on or before May 3rd. After May 3rd, or after 10 attempts, you'll have an additional 10 attempts to get it for 100% credit. Now, what happens if May 10th occurs and none of these, or some of these proficiencies are not passed yet? Well, it's pretty simple. I will allow you to take proficiencies up until the final exam day, which I believe is scheduled for May 12th. At least that's what it was as of 2 days ago. So as of May 12th, so between May 10th and May 12th, if you have any proficiencies that you have not passed yet, you will be allowed to take them for course credit to allow you to go into that final exam and have that final exam actually count toward you passing or not passing the course. So again, that's something a little bit different. When it was a face-to-face course, the end date, which was the Friday before finals week, that was it. If you had not passed your proficiencies by that date, there was no way that you could pass the class. With the online format, we are going to have a little bit more flexibility because the majority of the proficiencies are auto-gradable, that we'll be able to offer you a little bit more in the way of flexibility, a little bit more in the way of opportunity to actually pass the class. So that's what's going on, and I will post this little slide navigation into our Blackboard page. I will also, this video, which is posted on YouTube, I will link to it in our course page on Blackboard. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me about it. Because yes, this is a little bit different. This is kind of unconventional. But in the end, it should actually benefit you quite a bit because we are not being beholden to the restrictions of the learning lab in terms of what hours they're available, what days they're available, and even what times in terms of Monday through Friday you might have to take that proficiency. Now, the next video that I'll post will be about quizzes and exams, and so I'll look forward to talking with you again at that time. Have a good day.